We're going to attack the front brakes on the 68 Mustang, converting them to discs using the CSRP's kit from Kentucky Mustang, starting by unboxing and doing the best we can to inventory it. Since the rotors will be delivered in a few days' time, we have to start this job with a half inventory. And in order for this video to make sense, we will start chronologically as it pertains to the instructions.
In box 2 of 2, there's supposed to be rotors. That's special. So there's going to be no rotors. Yep, no rotors. What a special day. Special day. No rotors. No rotors.
All right, let's do a quick inventory of all these parts. The rotor is not here because it is back ordered right now and we'll get it at a later date. But the good news is we can get to working on the parts minus the rotor, so we can get as far as we can left and right side of the vehicle. But before we do that, let's get to inventory. We got the calipers, we got that part number, 4441. We have master cylinder. This is the master cylinder box that it came in. These are the brake pads box that it came in. These are the dual shields, the SK1. Here's the part number. We got brake lines, BH67S. Then we have LKM67 for a few lines. I'll find out where those go in a second. I don't know as of right now. Oh, here's the part number for the master cylinder that I had earlier, that right there. And then this was all in one bag, but we can see that it has the part number MB3 for the caliper bracket set. This all came in the one big package, SPK-1. This was inside of it also, BAS-1. This is the bearings. Adjustable proportioning valve, that's pretty cool. APV number 2. And then a lot of these components looks like, I might have to wait for the rotor for a few of these, but it looks like there's a few bolts in this one. Oh, there's a part number on that, but that's a bolts bag. And this is high temp disc brake wheel bearing grease. Remind everybody to like, even subscribe, especially go into the description to support our sponsors, Jocko Fuel. Click the link. And to get ready for the part 2 of this video, we'll focus specifically on the master cylinder, removing and replacing it, hooking up the brake lines and the brake pedal. In this video, everything is so out of sequence that I have to chronologically and put it all in order. I'm just worrying about the drums, the calipers, the rotors, and in the next video, the part 2, that's when I'm really going to focus on the master cylinder. Before we go installing the disc brake conversion on this 68 Mustang, we need to remove these drums. And in order to remove this line, let's disconnect it from the chassis so that we can spin it from the internal side of the drum. And then as soon as we get rid of that, spill all the oil on this cardboard, then we can start removing this drum. Go ahead and get yourself a brake line wrench. You can see that in the link in the description. I picked these up on Amazon. Go ahead and before you start loosening up the bracket of this thing, loosen up the line. So this is gonna put a little bit of oil, a little bit of brake fluid. Let's loosen it up. We're also gonna loosen up that too, so that we can push the whole deal, get it out of the way. Oh, there goes the fluid. Be all the way out. All right, we're gonna move this. So now we have this removed and able to spin. Go ahead and loosen up the nut all the way out on the internal side of this drum. These are this is the outboard side of the bolt that doesn't necessarily have a head. It's just secured inside of the drum housing.
There's the drum off. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean this up.
3 days later.
Here is a little bit of pertinent information when it comes to these 4 bolts if you fail to read so on the instructions. 3 of the bolts are smaller in size. 1 of the bolt is larger, and it's a little bit obvious. If you can't tell, it's the bottom rearward portion of the spindle, because that is the thicker portion in order for you to put a nut. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, if you're not watching the video, it should make sense once you get that bolt into place. Also, another important thing, these bolts, once torqued into place, they are 3 times use. Now, that might not be important. You might think to yourself that once the bolt's in place, it's never going to be replaced. But these spindles, especially if they're original, they're going to have some rust. Mine has some pitting, a little bit more than desired, but I'm still running it. And the nice thing about these bolts being 3-time use is that if I do buy myself an upgraded spindle, which I do have my eyes on a set of forged Stangaholics, I believe, then I can reuse these bolts 3 more times, and actually realistically 2 more times after the upgraded Stangaholics forged spindle.
In the picture above right here, you put the caliper bracket. You'll see the hump with this bracket on the front. So here's the hump, and it's on the front with this backside versus it being like that, and then the other side is opposite.
Keep in mind when installing the caliper bracket and the dust cover that the dust cover is side specific. You can read on the dust cover which side it is, or you can mock it into place like I did and see which is which. $50 foot-pounds. Best to do it by pushing down. Not too ideal to pull up, but I mean.
Next day of us installing the brakes, the disc brakes on the 68 Mustang, that wants us to remove the rotors from the packaging.
Let's see if I can do that without showing my address and exposing myself to all the people that want to steal my identity. It was kind of halfway open, which I hope that the rotors aren't damaged.
After cleaning the internal side of the discs, the instruction advises you when greasing up the bearing to use a plastic bag to make sure that the grease doesn't get anywhere. I did this with one side, and the other side I just free-handed it, and I used plenty of gloves, and it worked out.
Now that we've got the disc installed, we're gonna grease up and install the inner bearing. We have three parts. We have the outer washer or the thrust washer, which has a notch, which lets you align it correctly. The nut, and then the retainer, which lets you align the cotter pin in so that once everything's installed correctly at the correct pound footage, then it'll be aligned correctly.
Next, we're gonna take our torque wrench and torque this down to 25 foot-pounds. Keep in mind that when you look in the instructions and it tells you to put it to that level, turn the page, it actually tells you to back it off. And not this page, one more page. It tells you to back it off to 10 to 15 foot-pounds. I didn't do that with the other side because I didn't turn the page. I installed the wheel, didn't realize that. So here, as I torque this down, I have to take that wheel off, the center cap off, and undo it. Am I gonna put the wheel on this with 25 foot-pounds? Maybe, I don't know. The reason they have you do that is so you can seat the bearing. Is it a good idea to ride around with the wheel on it? I don't know, it's kind of putting a load on the bearing. Unnecessary load. So keep that in mind that you might wanna back it off to 10 whole foot-pounds. All right, the next thing we're gonna do in this video is take this caliper, and we need to make sure that the caliper bleed port is in the up position, up and outboard. And then we're going to take it, install it. Here, I'll show you. So we've installed the bolt in this top hole right here, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna install the bolt in this bottom one. In fact, what we might do is take this top one out and install this bottom one first, just to make it a little bit easier. What happened last time on the other side of the car, because I've already done the caliper on the other side first, is that this dust shield was a little bit too large, and I had to shave it down with the Dremel. Anyways, this looks like it fits, so we're gonna go ahead and install this caliper, and I'll be right back. Oh, tightening this down as much as I can with my fingers, just so I feel good about these threads.
Now, before you go installing the brake line to the chassis side of the vehicle, make sure you install it to the caliper first. I learned this the hard way by installing it to the vehicle, to the chassis while it's already in the bracket, and then I had to undo the entire process.
Part 2 of this video, we're going to install all of the hydraulic components, including the master cylinder, this brake line, and the first video was just installing all of the mechanical components, the caliper and the disc and whatnot. But now that we have all that installed, we installed this brake line. You see, I put that copper washer there. And this is the last part of this video. We're gonna get that torqued down. We're gonna get that routed around over there. And this is part 1 of disc conversion, calipers, pads, everything installed. Now what we have next, see the master cylinder is missing. We'll be installing that. I am getting ready to install the master cylinder. I think I am, at least. And then we're gonna use these to bleed them. But actually, instead of bleeding it, what we're going to do, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna install